Okay, we are live. What's going on, Roy?
We're live. We're alive. Crazy week in the middle of earnings. Tesla coming up tomorrow. DeepSeek through the market with turmoil. A lot of recovery today. A lot of things to talk about, as always. Busy season, but man, it's fun. I wouldn't trade this for anything. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. Not long ago, we had. Well, we kind of skipped over those weeks as far as Btlg because of travel between yourself and myself. But a lot of those weeks towards the end of the year and even at the beginning of the year, just like, yeah, nothing really happening. Markets open like 3.5 days a week, and so I'll take the busy, crazy, frantic season over anything. How are you, Tevis?
I'm doing well, man. I feel like I'm running late for everything today. I'm just perpetually behind on everything, but yeah, all is good. I posted my Sofi recap video, the earnings breakdown video. It took me like 2 days to fully edit that and just go through line by line on everything there. So, hopefully people find value in that. And then I'm doing like a live stream with TJ a little bit later on tonight, talking about the miners. And I haven't done any homework at all. And he's like bringing me on as an expert. I'm like, oh man, I haven't done any reading. So I got 1 hour between the end of this and I think whenever he scheduled it, I gotta check.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I'm doing well.
Miners exist, so there you go.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like honestly, like we've talked about it before, but I'm kind of curious, and maybe we'll start there since you've done all of your homework and you're completely ready for this. But I view miners. Actually, I say all of the miners. Now there are some miners I think that are a lot better than others, but I view all the miners as just garbage companies to invest in long term. But they're a useful vehicle if you want Bitcoin exposure. If you're in a tax advantage account and you can't get it directly, you can do that, or of course like ETFs, depending on what you have. And it's pretty useful to wheel, and that's what I do. If they're in my wheeling account, I'm not holding them long term. In fact, I even reduced my exposure to them and bought more GameStop. So are there any miners that you're like, oh no, I think that this miner here is a great long-term vehicle and investment, or are they all kind of like that to you?
I mean, so they're all sort of like exactly that to me. I think, I don't know, man, like one of the things that I really want to talk about, and I guess I'm plugging the live stream that I'm going to have with TJ in an hour, but like, one of the conversations that I want to have is the trade over or not? Oh, there he is. There's TJ, the wheel deal in the house. And I think there's a good conversation to be had around this because of the somewhat decoupling we've had from, the introduction of ETFs and whatnot. Like the miners are now no longer like the most direct, one-to-one. Now, the premiums are obviously high and the moves are very volatile. Can you make money off the miners? Absolutely. But I'm saying if somebody was not wheeling them, was just buying and holding on the thesis that Bitcoin is going to go up, is there still money to be made there? I don't know. So I'd be curious to get your take, but also all the gentlemen at the Riot Wkly in an hour.
Riot Wkly?
Yeah, that's I think what PJ made the thumbnail. So, but he's in all three of them now. I only own 2 of them. I did cash secured puts on Riot for a couple of weeks, but I never got assigned. So I only have positions in Marathon and CleanSpark.
Yeah, I haven't held Riot in a long time, but out of, I've been wheeling them back and forth since not knowing what I was doing in 2021 late, and then 2022, which I was figuring out what I was doing largely on Bitcoin miners. But I held probably Riot the longest out of anything. Made a lot of money on it in 2023. Lost some money on it in 2022. Amara too. I mean, like a lot of them too. And I know TJ likes Riot. He's, it's a Texas company, which they got that going for him. But no, I'm actually kind of curious what his thoughts are. If there's any that he's like, hey, this is a great long-term play versus, a trade. He might see Riot that way. I know he's visited the facilities, talked with the CEO and all that. It is interesting too. Like, throw up this that I'm sharing here. This is a post from Michael Saylor, which I don't follow him. He's a Bitcoin pumper, obviously, but I think he really believes. So I'm not, trying to be overly critical. But there was news that came out. Arizona joined this sea of orange, or growing sea of orange, of states that are considering and working on legislation to potentially have their own statewide Bitcoin strategic reserve. Of course, we see Texas is, of course, the big one. Florida, that's not unsubstantial either. And there's a lot of other important states, and it's not all a red state or blue state phenomenon. So I'm just kind of curious, and it's something to keep our eyes and attention on. But do you think that this is going to spread to other states? Do you think that a lot of these states that are considering will pass that? And do you think that, well, you're not an Americans, but do you think that this has implications for a strategic reserve for the country?
Yeah, look, I do think it's going to spread. I think the sentiment is fairly bullish on crypto. The administration is going to facilitate that entire growth. And I think with regards to strategic reserve, it's going to be a mixture of, you're still sharing. It's going to be a mixture of what is made in the USA, what companies are headquartered in the USA. Like, so long as those operations remain domestic and the growth remains domestic, then I think that there will benefit from it. I mean, that's a very super basic take, but I mean, a lot remains to be seen right now because it's super early on in the administration.
Yeah. I'd say with all the crypto noise and just having like a crypto czar, David Sachs, I think, and correct me if I'm not remembering this rightly, he was very much in favor of a Bitcoin strategic reserve, which he's not an actual czar. He can't just, by decree create that. But I think there's a lot of impetus behind it. And the more states that adopt that, the more likely it is that we'll have a national basically backing for that. And I think that would in net be a good thing for the United States, just to kind of control that. I think Trump sees the value in that. I don't know if he really, really, really believes in Bitcoin or just is like, hey, these are awesome times and let's try it. But I know that some in his administration and on his cabinet are big Bitcoin backers and believers, and crypto in general as well. Like, it's going to be an exciting time.
I love buying Celsius, man. Every time he's on the stream, I'm assuming it's a he, but she maybe. Every time they're on the stream, they just donate $2 and saying whenever I'm drinking a Celsius. So they are funding my poor health decisions.
Yeah, a fellow, my last 2 recent live streams, Big Sour, he's bought me a Monster each time, actually a little bit more. It's $5, and
I love it.
So, yeah, it's like, no, dude, I'm not one because it's, I need to go to bed tonight, but still drinking a little bit of caffeine because I got to be up till like 10:30. But no, it's fun. Appreciate you guys in the audience, by the way. And we, as always, this one we will probably end at exactly an hour. Tevis has a lot of homework that he needs to do that he's behind on, and he might get an F grade by his teacher, TJ. So he needs to be out sharp, but we will get to your questions at the end. So any questions that you have, we'll try to get to those maybe the last 15 minutes or so.
Yeah. You can just ask at any point and I'll just bookmark them and then we can do the last 15 minutes Q&A.
Yeah, so Nala had one on GameStop, so 604.
It's not a real question.
It's a real question.
GameStop is, it doesn't count. It's not a real stock. It's a treasury bond, and that's pretty much all it is.
It is that you can wheel, which should be attractive to you. The premiums are actually better than these Bitcoin miners, dude. I think it's a better company too. Like, that's how bad I think that the Bitcoin miners are as companies, because they're just dilution machines. GameStop does that too, but at least they have a lot of cash.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair point. So we can get to GameStop towards the end. What do we want to lead with? I have one thing that I want to bring up to you and get your thoughts on, but I don't know, maybe it's going to trigger you a little bit. You ready to see it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so the latest numbers for Him's short interest came in 56 million shares sold short. About
Nice.
30% of the float is
Nice.
is short Hims. Roy, what do you make of that?
So I've been in HIMS now. Is it 4 months? I know the short interest has always been high.
This is the highest it's ever been, by the way.
Yeah, that was going to ask because I was like, I don't remember it being this high before.
So the last number as of December 31st was 52 million, and the January 15th number came in at 56. And I mean, here you can just see the history of that. It's gone perpetually higher, higher, higher. And yeah, so it's getting kind of crazy out there.
Good.
Of course, Hims released some teaser around testosterone. I don't know, Roy, if you saw that, but they have a Super Bowl ad around GLP-1s that I was able to see earlier today. And they also released the teaser around testosterone, which is, I mean, it's pretty clear that that's going to be coming in 2025, just a matter of when.
That's the oral testosterone, or
I'm not sure what the form factor is.
yeah, I know that that's a newer one. I think there's two different providers that have done that. I know that a lot of people were talking about that in 2021, 2022 as a big thing.
Well,
just don't like shots.
I mean, so the question still stands, though, with regards to all of these products that they're launching and everything that's on the horizon. It all looks very promising for this business. Why has the short interest continued to rise? Like, what is the thesis that you can make there? Is it GLP-1 related, or?
Yes, I would think so. I mean, I'm long Hims.
We both are.
Yeah, Tanner is the expert on Hims. But if I was interested in shorting Hims, like basically the short case is this: you've had massive revenue increase from GLP-1 compounding. That's revenue that is not sticky, that will be going away at some point.
Right.
And even if it's not going away immediately, the year-over-year comps are harder for Hims. So it's not going to look, they're not going to put up 100% year-over-year growth like every quarter this year. Especially when that revenue is taken away, all of a sudden they might actually. I think that they'd probably still put an increase up year over year, but it'd be something like SoFi numbers, like ooh, whoop-de-doo, 15% revenue growth year over year. It's like SoFi Tech Platform. Hallelujah! That's not exciting, but you have to kind of understand, like they had this one-time sugar rush of it, and then they'd also know and realize Hims is a very volatile name. Short interest certainly helps. Small float helps too, but even if there is just an article mentioning tirzepatide, which they don't even have, being removed from the shortage list, is like, oh, boom, negative 15%. So, I mean, what do you think is going to happen to the stock when semaglutide, and it's not an if, but a when, is removed from the shortage list?
I mean, it's obviously going to be a short-term negative catalyst, but at the end of the day, like February it's coming shortly. And in a few weeks, like 3 weeks or so, this company is going to be reporting their earnings where they're expected to put up 90, 91% year over year growth rate. And we know, similar to SoFi, that they always triple beat. What do you think will happen when the actual management team says, oh, well, this 100% year over year beat that we put up is something that we see continuing in 2025, and here's why. Here's all the other product lines for us to take our collective market attention away from GLP-1s and to some other prospects that we have as a business. Like, I'm not saying that it's not going to fall on semaglutide, but I'm saying that it's more than going to be replaced because it is the biggest known out there. It's not like a black swan event in the slightest. People know that it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. And the management team obviously is accounting for that when they provide their guidance numbers. And the fact that they're still growing 90%, it's like, well, guys.
Yeah. And I, for one, like the way I'm playing it is, I think that that's a short argument. I think that there maybe are some that legitimately believe, which is weird to me, that Amazon's just going to take over the entire thing and Hims will instead, like we've talked about this before, but Amazon are basically like wolves, a big pack of very strong wolves that are hungry. But wolves don't just attack and kill the strongest and healthiest game. They instead go after the stragglers, the sick, the lame, the elderly, the weak, just because it's easy prey. It's not because they're lazy. That's just the way the predators work. And that's really what Amazon does in most industries when they come in. They don't actually manage to take out the leaders at all. They may slightly impact the growth. And I don't even think that's going to be the case here, just because the real competition is not telehealth. It's the old way of doing things. You know, Walgreens and what they're doing with pharmacy stuff like that is that's ancient. It's one of the reasons why they've had problems. There's a lot of other reasons too. No, I prefer to just be long and remain long. But let's say next week we get the news like, hey, and normally they let us know when they're going to release the news. But let's say hypothetically on Monday, we find out, oh, yeah, semaglutide no longer being compounded, negative 25%, negative 30%. I don't know if it can go much further than that at some point, just because a lot of people see this company as differentiated and is well positioned. And this is not part of the long-term bull thesis for probably 99% of us. Like there's probably 1% out there that just don't understand. But what I'm going to do in that scenario is when the IV settles down just a little bit, so probably the next day or the day after, and it may have risen a little bit, that's when I'll go into a leaps position, because I hold no options on the name. It's incredibly volatile, but I've built out the position as far as stock. I'd have to look today because I believe that we finished up. I know it was up a good bit earlier today, and it's just a busy day. But it's about 10% of my portfolio. It's a third largest position now. All stock, all shares, no options at all. Long term, it goes down 50%, like whatever, as long as they're executing. And this company, two things about it. Like you said, they execute incredibly well. And second, Anthony Dudham, said this a number of times, that this is a data play. Now, you know what got a whole lot more valuable and interesting with DeepSeek news? Data. Yeah. And maybe we'll pivot and talk about that and then save Tesla expectations for last, or we can just go right into questions. Oatmeal Tevis, what in the world? Tanner, you caused Tevis to be late. We didn't appreciate that. But no, as far as DeepSeek, I've talked about that. I have a separate video elsewhere as well, but I think the market's still trying to figure this out. But let's say for an instance that DeepSeek, everything is real. It's above board. Training costs are much, much cheaper. Some of that's misrepresented, because that's not the total cost for everything. It's kind of like icing a cake and saying the icing costs you $5. It's like, okay, well, cool, but how much was the whole cake? Well, I'm not talking about that. Just icing. Look at the delicious icing. Don't get distracted by what's underneath it. But if this is the case, then maybe those GPU centers and clusters become a little bit less valuable. I don't know. There's a lot of arguments possibly against that. I missed part of that. Oh yeah, GME. That's right. Go Apes or something. I can't remember what it is, but Diamond Hands. Yeah, that's the one.
Tanner pretends on the Sofi Wkly that he hates hymns, and he secretly lurks here just to get the latest hymns news.
Maybe Tanner is the guy that brought that short interest up to like almost 30%,
That could make sense. Yeah.
He's like, long,
he's spread trading. He's long Joby, short hymns.
Dude, it's actually brilliant because he knows you're buying it. And what happens when you buy? It tanks.
Stop. Don't.
It's like insider trading. It's like easy money for him. So Tanner, if you're doing that, congratulations. Anyway, back to DeepSeek. So GPU clusters possibly less valuable, possibly not. I think NVIDIA will be perfectly fine, but there might be some others that are in that sector that are hit a little bit. But companies that have differentiated and rich data. So what's going to happen is if training costs are a lot less, there's going to be a lot of startups that take advantage of that. Smaller companies, they realize that they don't have to spend $6 billion, $10 billion, $50 billion, $500 billion like the Stargate project for these sort of things. And as a result, they need data, they need access to it. And I don't know if that means, so there's two possible ways to benefit from this. One is if they're able to anonymize, and I'm not sure it's our regulation implications, but if they're able to do that and allow people to access that data, although it's anonymous, and train their LLM that's specified towards health or telehealth, then they can make a lot of money off of that. And even if not, they can leverage that in their differentiated data just to continue to improve their AI products. And they do have some very good AI products that are there on the front end to help the customer be able to get the right product at mid-match, and also the right dose and everything. It's a lot better way of doing health. So I wouldn't say like it's DeepSeek. It's like, oh wow, HIMS should double overnight. It's like, no, but it's a good thing for most players in the market, and it's a great thing for names like Palantir, and it's a good thing for names like HIMS that really are a data play, and also Tesla. I think it's really good for Tesla, even if they overspent and they didn't need as many H100s in their GPU cluster. They probably did, honestly. I mean, they have an incredible amount of data that is very, very differentiated that they can take a lot of advantage from, and it's good for Grok too, which I know is not tied in with Tesla, but they talk about integrating Grok within Tesla itself, so that you're able to operate your vehicles on the basis of an LLM. That's something that I thought Tesla already had actually when I bought the Tesla, and I was like, oh, it actually sucks. But it can get a lot better. They can lead the pack there, and I think it'll be wild.
Yeah. I don't know, man. DeepSeek is, I think, a wake-up call to a lot of the market. I saw your video on it, and if people haven't seen Roy's video on it, then I definitely recommend that because that was pretty in-depth and educational. I do think, however, that it itself is not a threat. I mean, I was just seeing news earlier today that the data was all stored in China or something like that, that they were storing user data. And so there people were saying that it's probably going to get banned. And it doesn't matter what happens to DeepSeek because DeepSeek is not the threat in itself. It's the fact that somebody can make this at a fraction of the cost. That's the threat. And I think that part is going to be short-term pain, but over the long term, going to help that innovation go even faster because it just puts everybody's feet to the fire.
Yeah. And as far as like the data being housed in China, I think that it might be true for the native DeepSeek app. I know if you access it through Perplexity, my understanding, and double check this, don't just take my word for it, but I saw Perplexity say this at least, was that the data never leaves them. It's anonymized and it stays in the United States. It's not exported to China. So I did see an interesting theory on, yeah, I bet. Like, so I'll probably do a SoFi earnings reaction, but my video is going to be like 3 minutes. Not really, but it'll be very short, not non-depth like yours. I can't actually wait to watch yours because there's always things that I miss, and I know you do a good job when you go through that. So if you're into SoFi, you want a very detailed report, don't watch Tanner's stuff. I mean, no, just kidding. He's just a pumper, No, he has great content as well. But yeah, check out Tevis's video, which should be out now. So
we can, because he's talking about Lending Club in the chat, and that constitutes spam. So we can actually lurk, or you can ban him if you want. You can just mute him
on Lending Club. Well, I'll throw this up. I love.
You're throwing. He's winning, Roy. If you throw up the chart.
No. It's just to make fun of something.
Okay.
So Lending Club down, and it's probably down, about the same, but 20% on earnings. So, and a analyst that's pretty bearish on SoFi said, "Hey, let's do a pair trade, long SoFi, short Lending Club." No, other way around. That would have even been stupid too. But long Lending Club, short SoFi. Oh my goodness, yeah, just I don't know what they were thinking at the time. I thought it was ridiculous. I think Lending Club is a decent company. I think SoFi is better, but yeah, it's funny. And so companies like Lending Club, where people, propose like pair trades, and I'm on the other side of the trade. I don't love people losing money ever, but those, oh yes, keep going down, baby.
This is what happens when you invest in Tanner stocks, people. This is what happens. Just saying. You could buy HIMS with Roy and I, and you could 3x in a matter of months, or you can buy a Lending Club with Course Boy Tanner, and you can be down 22% in a day.
Or Jobby. I'm not going to say Joby anymore. I'm going to mispronounce it deliberately. Jobby. I think Chris Haggard does have a little bit of Lending Club. I might be wrong on that, though. I know he has incredibly more SoFi. But yeah, it's not a bad company. Anyway, yeah, with the DeepSeek implications, it was one of those funny moments on Monday where everything dumped, and of course, Nvidia especially dumped, and it makes sense. Like even people like Tanner, that's in Nvidia and has been in Nvidia a long time, he's not sure on the implications. Brad Friedman has a great article out, kind of summarizing his thoughts, fairly similar to mine. There's some differences there, but it's hard to know the impact on Nvidia right away. I did see a lot of people that are a lot smarter than I am that were buying the dip on Nvidia that are in AI and that sort of play. So yeah, I didn't buy the dip. I'm still waiting. I'm interested. I'm looking to learn more.
Wait, dip on which stock?
Nvidia.
Oh yeah, dude, that was the easiest cash secured put you could have ever written in your life. I feel when that thing fell to like 120.
Did you write it?
No, I didn't have money. All my money was tied in Tesla CSPs for the Friday.
Yeah.
So because I got it signed on HIMS and on SoFi, and so now I have a bunch of stock, and the money that I had left was all Tesla CSPs for this Friday.
Yeah, mine was, I don't know. I had like, I think 5,000 that wasn't tied up, but that's not enough to write the put or anywhere close. So I didn't feel like selling out of anything. So I had tied up in SoFi at $15, which I didn't think that they'd strike, but if they do, that's fine. Not a large position, a lot of GameStop and a lot of CleanSpark. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Good job.
Oh yeah, Ray, killing it.
Yeah, I think long term, like I don't fear for Nvidia long term. There may be better plays out there, and I have like 5 names that I'm looking at that I'll probably pick one to invest in sometime in the next 3 or 4 months. And if there's an opportunity in earnings that I'm like, hey, this is amazing, a lot. No, it's not a long-term position though, Nala. So don't get excited. I will it back and forth. I'll be a complete trader. Roaring Kitty pumps it up 10%. All right, good enough this time. See you on the downside. So, yeah. Well, the other thing too with DeepSeek, before we pivot and talk about Tesla, and then we take some comments. I love the timing of it. On one hand, I saw some speculation on the timing side of it. They're like, hey, this is, like a deep fake by China. Like the product is obviously real. Like people could try it out. Yeah.
Wasn't it released on like the anniversary of like the first reported COVID case or something?
Yeah. There was, I can't remember what exactly it was, some weird
thing.
timing thing. And then, you see the impact that it had, of course, on the market cap of especially large tech. And I think that if that's really the case, and it may not be the case, I would actually say it's probably not the case. But if that was the case, and what the real goal I think is to introduce some uncertainty, not for a buy the dip moment or making their shorts print. I saw that theory, but I think it's maybe to stymie some of the investment on the U.S. side in LLM technology and GPU clusters and that sort of thing, just to give them a little time to catch up. I don't know that that's the case, though. I mean, like DeepSeek seems like it's very credible. Where I have some doubts is as far as the actual training costs.
Yeah, I saw that same theory as well, where like the main owner is like a hedge fund. I don't know, man. I love
like Citadel or something. Like, no, come on.
I love the conspiracy theories, but like again, it's an important moment, I think, for the market as a whole, especially since all eyes are on AI. Like even yesterday, Anthony Noto went on Bloomberg and he was like, "Hey, we're investing more into the business. We want to go back into the growth." And the first question this guy had, the Bloomberg commentator, was, "How much of that investment is going to AI?" Like, I want to ask about AI, and it is so much in the zeitgeist right now in the current phase we are in the market cycle, that it's just, I mean, it's the reason why the market pulled back as much as it did, but it's also the reason why I think it's important now more than ever,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. So Tesla reports tomorrow. What are you thinking, Tevis?
Well, I just posted earlier today that the implied move on Tesla is like 10% up or down. So this thing could be, in the 430s, or it can be in the 360s by the end of that report. I do think that people have the delivery numbers, ahead of time, so they already know that side of things. People have already been plugging in those delivery numbers to get a range of the financials. I mean, this is similar to what we were doing with Sofi members, where we were saying, hey, like, we're all within 15,000 members of each other. Well, yeah, no shit, because we already have 80%, 90% of the data already there, and we're only guessing on the remainder. Similar Tesla analysts are going to do the same thing with the financials because they already have the delivery numbers. I think that with regards to Tesla, a lot of it is going to be depending on the call. And on the call, it's going to be a matter, like, this is the first earnings report that we have under this new administration. And it's going to be really interesting to see where Elon's head is at with regards to expansion, with regards to growth, and if there's any insights there. I mean, from tax credit, regulatory perspective, or Optimus updates or whatnot. Tesla earnings calls are always interesting to witness because there's an equal amount of hype and
It's a circus, dude.
it's a circus.
Yeah, it'll be so. Usually, the first earnings of the year are very, very important, especially when it comes to guidance, just because it sets the stage. Most companies do guidance, and they do guidance for a full year. Some do it a little bit differently. And so you'll see a lot of volatility. I think, one of those questions that Tesla will be asked, it doesn't matter too much to them, but it will be on the DeepSeek piece and H100s and that sort of thing. I don't know that Elon brings it up, but I expect analysts will ask about that. But it's also even more important than typical just because we're under a new administration. And so I think actually probably many of us, this is our first time while we're investing under a new administration, listening and watching earnings calls. I think I got into the market as an individual investor about that time, and I had no idea what I was doing. So I wasn't like digging through the slide deck and that sort of thing. I was figuring it out, right? So there's a lot of volatility, a lot of things that have changed, especially with what Donald Trump has done in his first little bit of office. He signed a record number of executive orders. Just to compare it, George Washington in 8 years, I believe, signed like 7 or 9. It was single-digit executive orders. And Trump did more than that in an hour. And these were not like George Washington, where he's like, hey, let's sign a national day of Thanksgiving. These had sweeping ramifications and change. And there's been a lot done since then. And so, especially on a name like Tesla, there's a lot of implications as it relates to tariffs. I hope Elon Musk talks about that a fair bit. Of course, incentives as well, supply chain stuff. It's all related to that. How things are doing in China. I'm really curious too if they'll talk about the ramp up on the refreshed Y. I think that depending on how fast they can ramp that up, and I'm pretty excited for them to have this product out. But if they can really ramp that up into basically full production, I think that the Model Y, the refresh, will become yet again, as it was in 2023 under the old model, the most successful, most sold worldwide vehicle. It's going to be a great product for them. And the other thing that I'm really looking at, so I pulled up the slide deck, and there's a couple of things. This is from last quarter, but by the way, guys, if you're new in investing, you've never looked at a slide deck, just search for investor relations. Not every site looks like this. And do yourself a favor. They call it some different things, but you should see something like this that summarizes a bunch of numbers, some comments. Some look pretty, some don't. So important that you at least track that on some of your highest and most held investments. But they always talk about COGS, the cost of goods and service, and it came at 35,100, which is phenomenal. And they talk about continuing to make inroads in that, and that's always something that is very, very meaningful, because that's one of the advantages of Tesla is they're able, the way that they automate that production line and supply chain issues as well, and do in-house basically everything. They're not outsourcing a whole lot. They have a few things that they do. Is incredible, and as a result, they're able to actually produce these vehicles that would be, we see with Rivian, we see with Lucid, we see this with some of the OEM manufacturers. They struggle with profitability simply because They don't know how to scale. Tesla absolutely does. And so the more and more that they're actually able to do that and reduce COGS, I think that there was one other slide on this. Nope, that was it. The better. And yeah, here's the production line. So just to give you an idea of where Wise work, just in Texas, 250,000. And let's see, Berlin, yeah, 375. There's Shanghai. Model Ys and Model 3s, 950,000. They, depending on how it goes, and they did talk about some optimization stuff that they're doing, they can really scale this fast, and they can sell these like hotcakes. Like that's the thing, is when you have a really great refresh on a model, and even if you had a gas vehicle that was just, you know, fairly decent, and it gets refreshed and it gets super nice, you sell it very, very, very well if you can scale it fast enough. And I think that they'll sell every single one of these. Yeah, I'm really curious on the demand side as well. And then this piece, I always like this slide. This is one of my favorites, just showing the FSD miles. And under version 12, they'll have version 13 now, I'm sure, on there, even though that's basically a thing just for the Y. And of course, the cumulative miles driven. And then this slide right here, I always find is really important as well. We kind of know what this will look like because they put out the monthly numbers, and I'm thankful that they include the energy component. But energy is really ramped up as far as what they're able to have deployed, and also as far as their monetization on that. Like people could say back in 2023, oh, this is just a car company. And if you look at revenue, like they were absolutely right. Let's see, that's all just fluff. Yeah, never mind. I won't pull that up. But yeah, I love seeing that diversified revenue. Of course, services increase as well. And lastly, I'm kind of curious what he says on the insurance side. I know insurance is not like hugely exciting. Tesla has a pretty good insurance product, and Elon Musk in the past has talked about the massive TAM that's available in insurance. Right now, it's only available in something like 8 states. And so I'm kind of curious with election ramifications if there's been any impact as far as them being able to scale that out to other states. Because my understanding is the 8 states weren't just like, hey, let's pick these because we hate all the other states and we don't like making money. It was more of a regulation and regulatory thing. Oh, and one other last piece. Sorry. They struggled with deliveries, you know, compared as far as year over year. And part of that was interest rates. But I'm really kind of curious. So the stock has gone up a lot, and we've talked about it before, that it's all about automation. Like Elon Musk, I think 2 quarters ago, said, if you're not in Tesla stock for automation, you're probably in it for the wrong reason. Something like that. He said it way more hypey. But yeah, they definitely need to talk about where they are in that. I would love to see a reiteration that California and Texas are ready to be deployed at some point this year, unsupervised. And as a Tesla, not just shareholder, but owner, that's going to be really exciting. Also, I'd like to hear them also reaffirm about their hardware 3 and hardware 4 stacks, like if they need to upgrade it for full self-driving, to actually be realized that they are willing to do that. So,
do you think that it'll go up after earnings? Because like, as you're saying those things, and they're all valid, I'm just wondering to myself how much of that is already priced into the stock. We don't forget the stock made a massive move. It's doubled since the last earnings call. And so I'm just wondering if it's one of those situations where we've had such a drastic run up with no real news that this is going to be a sell the news event, regardless of what they say, unless they have something drastically positive to say, which, I mean, frankly, like these are all progressive iterations of improvement and no real step changes in terms of their product lines or introducing a new product or having some massive like if Optimus was going to be being sold or something like that. You don't have any of these moments coming up in this earnings. So I guess what I'm trying to say is the possibility for a surprise is relatively small, and yet the stock has done such a big move in such a short period of time that I think that a lot of people might see that as a sell the news type of moment.
Yeah, I tend to think that it's probably going to go down in earnings, just because the price action has risen a lot. And actually, one of those indicators that I thought was interesting. Let me pull up Elon Musk.
You're gonna do the tweet indicator.
Yes. Yes. So explain that to us while I'm looking over his tweets.
So the fellow degens over on X and other platforms, I think Wall Street Bets was the first one where this popped up, realized that, and I think it's like 100% accurate so far, on moments where Elon tweets a lot, the sheer volume of tweets, the number, the earnings are positive, like in the 24 hours or 48 hours leading up to earnings. And then when he doesn't tweet a lot, the earnings are negative. And that has, and being the degens that they are, they buy calls based on how much he's tweeting. And it's like 100% right now. The thesis being that when he's excited, he tweets a lot, and that pumps the stock because it's good results. And when he's not, he doesn't tweet a lot. So
yeah, I think that there was an account that was following it. I can't find that account, but so we'll just count here. That's one.
No, you got to go to replies too, I think, right?
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's gonna be a lot.
Yeah, he's been very active. So these are all from last few hours. Some bad language. See Elon Musk.
Yeah, we can't do this.
Oh, Palantir. Interesting. Like, look at that. just.
Wow, I wonder why you wanted to do this, Roy.
I actually didn't know about that. That's cool. But I know that they're pretty aligned. I actually think that Palantir is likely being used or will be used by Doge at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So much. My goodness, dude. And he usually tweets a lot, but when it's a rough earnings call, it's not like this. He goes quiet.
Yeah.
Not super quiet, but quiet is like 5 tweets or replies.
All of this is in the past like 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
So the guy is tweeting. Actually, there's a whole like Polymarket odds betting on how many tweets he has in a 2-week period. Maybe I can bring that up.
He's got to be exceeding it right now. Oh my goodness. Yeah, and there's a lot of other posts that he has too. It's probably not enough, or that's probably enough. I'm scared to see what else he tweeted, but yeah. So I changed my mind, Tevis. I was thinking, because we've run up so much, and it's a lot on speculation of automation, and of course the Trump presidency.
Number of tweets, January 24th to 31. I guess we're at 101 so far. And that's all. 80% of people think it's going to be over 250. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know what they're counting. I don't think they might be counting replies, but maybe.
No, I think that those are just posts, because he might have 101 today. It's ridiculous. Yeah. So yeah, no, I legitimately think that the guy kind of wears his emotions on his sleeves and doesn't know how to restrain himself sometimes, which for us is great. If you kind of learn how to read the guy, it's pretty much an open book. So I'm not going to put money on this, but I'm guessing that we see a triple beat and the stock probably goes up.
Oh, wow. This is, so I think, so this is actually cool. Throw this up. There's a whole website dedicated to this shit. It's X Tracker, daily, weekly, casual 671 weekly posts between 300 and 600. An average of 37 posts per day, and you can export the data too. So
maybe it's I'll have to go back. Maybe he didn't post that much.
January 17, and we're here right now, right? Where? January 25, 26, 28. Yeah, so it peaked on the 23rd, and right now we're at a sort of a lull. So maybe it's not a triple beat.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna flip for the last time. Yeah, they're not gonna do so well, and the stock will fall.
For more in-depth analysis.
Yeah. I mean, like, honestly, it is an interesting pattern. I think psychologically, like, when he's excited, he just tweets a whole bunch. Yeah. And it's not, like in the last day or two, there's been nothing to tweet about. There's plenty. So
I mean, yeah, I guess 37 posts a day is not like crazy for him, especially if this is counting replies as well. Then that's not a lot at all.
mhm.
Uh,
Yeah,
so
it doesn't count replies. But yeah, that's very interesting. All right, so I think it's questions time.
sure. So you guys can put in the questions, and then we'll answer them. Okay, let's see. Yeah, the rookie numbers.
So at 6:06, I believe, was a GameStop question to you.
What is this question now?
I think he's asking you to go ahead and add GameStop into your will portfolio, and only
Oh,
with one cash secured put, which for you is like $2.
no, I will not do that. Oh, we didn't
Why?
talk about SoFi. Wait, why?
Yeah, why?
Because I'm already making good premiums wheeling the stuff that I'm already wheeling: Tesla, SoFi, and HIMS.
And you're willing companies that you actually want to hold, correct?
Yeah, like I'm selling cash secured puts that are like in the money for these companies because I don't mind holding them at higher prices, but generally like I'm more bullish on them. Like for Tesla, for example, I'll write a monthly, like I wouldn't be scared to write a monthly cash secured put at like 410, or something like that, and then you collect way more because I want to own it anyways.
All right, 632 Sanjay H71.
Hold on. Before that, anyone add SoFi this week?
Me unintentionally through cash secured puts, which I'm fine owning. If they do end up filling, I'll probably sell that many leaps as well. So if I have just to kind of balance things out, I know it's more money in SoFi, but I don't mind holding the stock. So
Yeah, I mean that. I mean we're going to talk about the earnings more on Friday, but the results were kind of interesting.
yeah, there's a lot of good. There was some that wasn't so good. And then some that I thought wasn't so good was clarified and improved on by Anthony Noto in the CNN interview. If you're a SoFi holder, I know Tanner reposted that.
NBC interview.
Oh, thank you so much. But yeah, watch it. It's worth a listen. It's like 9 minutes. He did a really good job. So still is a mixed bag, mostly good, but yeah, I have a huge SoFi position, so I'm not buying more.
Okay, what minute was the question?
632 Sanjay H71.
632. Sanjay asked this. If Tesla doesn't announce a low-cost model or full self-driving without supervision, dates or higher delivery numbers, does it matter? Does the earnings matter? Yes. I don't understand the question.
Yeah, I think he's saying unless they announce something spectacular, is it going to change much? And it's not. I mean, like that's the thing with Tesla, also with Robinhood, like companies that post monthly numbers and deliveries, you largely know a lot of what their earnings are going in, and so there's a lot less uncertainty, and as a result, there's less volatility. But you have to remember with Tesla, it's a stock that doesn't trade on fundamentals; it trades on a narrative. So Elon could pound the table and throw a fit, and then the stock just tanks. He could announce something unrelated to this that's really cool, and the stock just flies. He could do some crazy meme and people trade it sideways. I don't know. It's a very volatile stock that moves not irrationally, but it's largely on that narrative. So,
I mean, in general, they don't have a strong history of dropping massive announcements on earnings. They usually dedicate bespoke days for those announcements. So
yes.
I don't think you're going to see anything like groundbreaking, but I've been wrong before.
Yeah, I mean, he's been annoyed because analysts will ask that, and they do not do product announcements on earnings. They might tease things. They might confirm things that they already mentioned, but yeah, they don't answer products. Then 633, the Schaefer. Since when you invest, Roy? So how long have you been investing in me, Tevis? I'm just kidding.
How long have I been? Never, because I didn't buy Robinhood. But
yeah, I've been investing since I was 13, 12 or 13, but it's all index type funds. My dad, just awesome dad, and he kind of got me into investing. Largely, that investing looked like putting in the permanent fund dividend check, or at least a part of that. Alaska basically pays you to live there. That's how nice it is. And I mean, like that just gone up, along with everything else in the index, which has been good. And I tried individual investing in it was either 2001 or 2002. I think it was 2002 actually. Not the best market for it. They didn't have the tools for it either, especially up in Alaska where you have such a different time zone. It made it incredibly difficult. I think I was flat, and I was just like, I don't have the brain space for it. I don't have the time. I was also finishing up college, just recently married, baby on the way, 9 months later. Yeah. So not the most successful time. And then later during my master's degree, I ended up taking another step. This was in, I believe, 2007 and 2008. Do you know how the markets did at that time in 2008?
Yeah, maybe not so good.
Not so good. Yeah. Great financial crisis is like, well, I suck at this. And a lot of it was the market, and a lot of it, I was also picking not so great companies that I did not know well. I invested in some Brazilian mining company and in like supercomputing stuff, and just did not have a good feel of it. And largely it was like I was taking master's classes that between my master's degree and work, I probably got in maybe like 5 hours of sleep a night. I don't think I watched TV like once for like multiple years. Had no time for video games, anything. And I also have young kids, so it was just a bad time for me to try to even do that. If you're in that situation, by the way, there's nothing wrong with index investing. Do that. You can learn and with a smaller portfolio. And I'm just thankful that I was playing with smaller numbers. COVID, working from home, that's really what really gave me that time. All of a sudden, I saved time on my commute. I saved time on breaks, lunch. I was interested, and the United States is like, hey, here's some free money that you have to pay for later through inflation. And so I'm like, well, might as well invest it. And I did. And it worked very, very, very well. Made a lot of mistakes. But yeah, I have compound annual, or I have an average return of 99%. It's just 98 or 99% in those 4 years. So
it's amazing.
Yeah. And that's what 2022, which was terrible. So, but a lot of that too is Palantir. So Palantir, Robinhood, Sofi has been good to me too. Very, very good. So
it's terrific. We won't be able to get to all of these questions, but we'll try to answer as many as possible. Hold on. Are you at all becoming concerned that Musk is becoming more and more of a polarizing figure? Not so sure that's good for business in regards to Tesla. I wanted to bring this up. Buying Celsius donated some money, so he gets first precedence. I am personally concerned because you got to keep in mind that like Elon being politically outspoken was something that people thought would hurt Tesla, but then they realized it didn't have as big of an impact. But that was stuff like much more muted several years ago than the stuff that he's posting today, because today he's calling out other world governments, talking shit about them. So it's definitely a risk, and it's something that, I think even for myself, where I've been a Tesla investor for like since 2019, basically, it's concerning to me because the more and more outspoken he becomes on bigger and bigger issues, then it's obviously a risk to not only the company, but also to himself, like his person. Not only from a perception point of view, but also from like an actual security and safety point of view.
Yeah, I think it's slightly negative. It wouldn't be if it was a product that wasn't seen as a status symbol. Vehicles by many people are, and they would not want to be associated with somebody that's this outspoken. So it's still an incredible product, great CEO. That is slightly negative.
Does Facebook change their CapEx? I love how that was spelled. CapEx spend on chips.
Long term, maybe a little bit. I think that they're probably doing a lot of research right now to see what is possible and see if some of those DeepSeek implications, which are thankfully open source, can be used for Llama 3, which is also open source. Kudos to Zuck, not my favorite CEO, but I've liked him a lot better over the last year. But I don't think that they do that right away. They're not going to just leap and then look later.
I don't think they would reduce their CapEx. I think they would be, like, as a result of DeepSeek, I think there would be more scrutinous on auditing where that money goes. But at the end of the day, if they're finding positive ROI on that spent money, then it's better than it just sitting there and them not spending enough and risking being a laggard in that space. So I think if that money is allocated to CapEx, then they will spend it. And if they can see more opportunities to have positive ROI, then they would go that route. But I do think that DeepSeek is making everybody sort of look back into the line items of what they're spending and really asking the question, okay, is this absolutely necessary? At least I hope that's the intended effect. What's your prediction for the 1:30 Fed call impact on Sofi? Does he mean January 30th?
I think tomorrow, actually.
Or tomorrow, 1:30.
I'm pulling up the calendar. Let's see. Today is the 28th, so 29th. Yeah, FOMC meeting. It's a 2-day meeting. Then they'll have a presser after that. Yeah, I don't think they're cutting rates. Like, rate expectations are that they're not cutting right away. Well, let me look at that CME Fed Watch tool. We'll throw this up real quick. And why did that load weird? All right, so for January, yeah, it's 96.8% probability. And these have been like money for a long time.
Yeah, so
it's
that's
probably pretty predictable. So there's no way that a rate cut's happening. I think the 3.2 are just like, hey, if like in the next couple of days, if everything just comes to pieces and we have a yin carry event, then there's a chance. But no.
Yep.
So no change, no impact. It's expected.
Cool. Do you think Meta announces a split tomorrow?
No, I think they'll probably wait for things to go a little bit higher, especially with the uncertainty introduced by DeepSeek. It could be that they have more of a pullback. And I think that what they want to avoid is, even if they were thinking about it, splitting and then having their stock price fall to a ridiculously low level. I do think that that's probably happening at some point this year, though.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be doing a split tomorrow, but maybe this year. I don't even know that they would do it this year, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to be tomorrow, though. Do you think Sofi will reach $20 by summer, or is it going down from here? Would you buy NVIDIA? Do you think DeepSeek news is a scam? Yes, $20 by summer. Would I buy NVIDIA? Yes, buy NVIDIA. Do I think DeepT is a scam? It doesn't really matter if it's a scam or not. It had the intended effect on the market.
Yeah, yes, probably, and no. I don't think it's a scam.
Okay.
I think that and it's not really their fault, but the one thing that's being reported is the 6 million figure, which is like 5.53 million actually in training costs. But again, if you missed it before, that's like saying the icing on a really nice cake costs this much, and you're ignoring what that entire cake costs: labor, electricity, all of that.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. What's your expected Sofi stock price by 2025 end? I mean, my prediction for the end of the year was 28.50, which would be a new all-time high for Sofi.
It was what now?
$28.50.
Oh. Yeah, I heard like 50, and I was like, what in the world? Like, I hope so. Yeah, mine's 25, which would still be very good. Do the comment right before that, the EV tax credit one. I have a video on that, probably a 2-month-old video at this point. Nobody knows. We still don't know. Like, President Trump maybe doesn't even know. He did. The only thing that they basically did during that first flurry of his first week is basically say that they're considering cutting that. The way the United States is structured, that cut probably has to go through Congress. It really does, but he can do things like defund or reinterpret the wording and verbiage of some of the things on the tax credit thing. So for now, it still exists. My guess is the fiscal new year starts in October. So at earliest, I think that probably will be going off the table in October, or possibly even more likely January next year. I also selfishly hope that, because I want that refresh Model Y. I don't want the current version that has full self-driving and everything in it. Although if I was getting that with 7500 and not the other without 7500 makes sense now, but I'm going to wait personally.
All right, we'll get to like 3 more, just rapid fire, and then we'll call it. Sound good?
Yeah.
S&P 7000 this year?
Yeah, probably.
All right, I like it. I would be more bullish rather than less bullish on the year. I do think we have more tailwinds than we have headwinds for this year. Likelihood Tesla goes down to low 300s if they don't make announcements on FSD or Model 2. I mean, I don't think they're going to go to low 300s. They might go to mid 300s is what I'd probably put money on.
Yeah, I think 350 is probably about where they'll dip to and maybe rise a little bit above that. But yeah, 350 is where I'm expecting. By the way, if it goes there, unless something is fundamentally changed in Tesla, I've stopped DCAing. I will again slowly, and that's like maybe a share a week, be DCAing more into Tesla because I'm underweight there.
Yeah, so we talked about the Hims Super Bowl ad commercial. So just rewind. We start talking about Hims about 10 minutes in. I don't have Target, so I can neither confirm nor deny that Pizza Hut tastes better. Model Q coming or not? I mean, eventually it's going to be coming. Is it coming or not this year? I mean, maybe the announcement might come this year, but that's about it.
Yeah. They'll announce it. I would expect next year is probably the earliest that we'll see it. Maybe not even early next year, simply just because they're trying to ramp, continuing to scale Cybertruck and ramping the Model Y. Q is not the main focus, and it certainly will not be announced tomorrow.
What do you guys think about Grab?
I don't. It's an international play. Interesting CEO. I think that they're probably a good company. They seem like they're well positioned. I don't know enough about Singapore. I don't know enough about that type of business. And I don't really like, it's so bullish to be invested in the United States. Unless I see something that I just think is a phenomenal opportunity internationally, I'm going to stay in the United States. I do have 2 international plays, Nubank and Abcelerate.
Okay. I'm going to put this link for this live stream in the comments. We are wrapping up Bootleg Weekly for this episode. That's all the time we have today. Please join us next week on Bootleg Weekly. Join us Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern for Sofi Weekly, where we're going to talk exclusively about Sofi. Subscribe to Roy's channel. Do all the things. Check out Roy's DeepSeek video. Check out my earnings recap video, which is on my channel right now. That's over 30-minute breakdown on earnings. Thank you so much. And then before you leave, click on this link and you'll see my face again in about 10 minutes talking about the miners. So thank you everybody for being here. Appreciate your time, and I will see you all soon.